We're going to be talking about the Jonathan Ellington case. Now, this is the case that I've seen just briefly mentioned a few times in other content creators' channels. The Daily Mail wrote an article about it, talking about Ann Taylor being the public defender on this case in the past and how she got this man his verdict overturned because of an officer lying on the stand. But then he got another trial and he was reconvicted and is in prison. It's pretty wild.
Talked about
we
this, right?
did touch on it once in our Ann Taylor video. And Ann Taylor, if you don't know, if you're new here, is the public defender, the lead public defender for Brian Kohberger, who is the suspect in the Idaho 4 Moscow student murders. So this case is pretty insane. And by the end of it, after taking in the facts of the case, I am curious how you feel about it, because I am not sure how to feel about it. I understand he was in the wrong with some of the things he did, but I feel like the family involved in this literally pushed and pushed and pushed until he had no other option. It's insane. So I don't know if I believe he should be in prison for the rest of his life, or honestly any super extended amount of time. Like, maybe he should have got some charges, but what they charged him with seems like overkill to me.
Yeah, an overcharge.
Yeah. So this is directly from court documents, and it is the state of Idaho versus Jonathan Ellington, 2011. And this is directly about his overturned trial. And it's kind of like the Dr. Moore case, where it reads through kind of like a story. But I'm going to read the nature of the case real quick. Jonathan Ellington appeals from his convictions for 1 count of second-degree murder and 2 counts of aggravated battery. He argues on appeal that prosecutorial misconduct, evidentiary errors, and a biased jury and the cumulative error doctrine entitle him to a new trial. We find merit in several of Mr. Ellington's assignments of error at trial, and they granted a new trial to him. On the basis that the district court abused its discretion in denying Mr. Ellington's motion for new trial brought after evidence came to light that the state's sole rebuttal witness, Fred Rice, that's the officer we're talking about, an Idaho State police officer, provided false testimony at trial that went to the defense's sole theory of the case. So this took place about 11 a.m. January 1st, 2006. Jonathan Ellington left his friend's house in Athol, Idaho, to head back home. He's driving along when he comes upon a white Honda Accord, and in it is Jovan Larson, who was 22 at the time, and her sister Jolene, who was 18 at the time. He claims that they were playing a game of cat and mouse with him, and attempted to cut him off, and also flipped the bird at him, like put up their middle fingers at him. The girls claim they did not do any of that, and they deny it. They completely deny it. Mr. Ellington passes the car, and then at the next stop sign, he gets out of his car and yells and screams at them, curses at them, and hits their window, the driver's side window, and like freaks out basically. Then gets back in his car and starts to drive away. And the girls get on the phone with 911 because they're scared. And I've been in a situation like that where I was scared, and I definitely called 911, but I did not do what they are about to do. So there's apparently no license plates on his car. So they follow him.
Okay.
They chase him for a while. Then he makes a U-turn and faces the girls and drives into their lane and then swerves back into the other lane, passing them going the opposite way. And one of the girls, Jolene, claims that he flipped them off and mouthed like cuss words at them or something. They turn around and try to catch up with him, but they can't. And they decide to stop and wait for an officer. And they were also instructed by the 911 dispatcher to not follow him anymore.
Right.
And they called their parents, Joel and Vonette Larson. They arrived about 15 minutes later. The deputy sheriff arrived as well and then left to go investigate. Mr. and Mrs. Larson went the other way to look for Mr. Ellington in their Subaru. While driving along the road, they see his Blazer drive out of a driveway, and then they begin to follow him.
What?
Yeah.
So strange.
So then the girls follow their parents. So both of them are following him. The 911 dispatcher told them to stop and be careful because he was likely driving fast away from them because he was afraid. Duh.
Yeah.
Like, duh. So, and that
now
was
2 cars following him.
Yeah.
That, dude,
And
I would be afraid.
They told the 911 dispatcher, he's going like 100 miles an hour and we're going 90 to follow him. And the 911 dispatcher's like, stop. He's going fast because he's scared. Don't follow him anymore. You're putting yourself and everybody at risk. Mr. Ellington turns left into a driveway on Scarcello, I think it's Scarcello road. He is trying to reverse his direction when he skids into a snowbank, and the Subaru passes the girls' Honda, which is the Subaru's the parents' car, passes the Honda coming into the wrong lane of traffic. Mr. Larson testified inconsistently when talking about this, and they weren't sure if he was trying to block the Blazer in or if he was trying to block the Blazer from hitting his 2 young girls' car.
I mean, block him in.
For sure. He claims he was just trying to protect his girls, and then at another point, no. And then
let me block this car.
Well, they in multiple different interviews, he said he was trying to protect his girls, and then in different interviews, he says that he was trying to block him in to wait for law enforcement. So Mr. Ellington reverses out of the snowbank, and then he's attempting to drive away back down the road, and the Blazer makes contact with the front of the parents' Subaru, which is still slowly moving towards the Blazer, and it's blocking most of the lane. Like, they're literally blocking like almost the whole road.
So the Subaru hit him.
I don't know. That's not very clear. So the Blazer's trying to get out of the way. The Subaru's still moving slowly towards him, and he's literally trying to avoid them and get out of there. Is what he's trying to do. He's trying to run away. So acceleration marks suggest Mr. Ellington was attempting to swerve around the Subaru. And that's what Fred Rice, that's what his testimony is directly about, is this situation, and basically pinning it on Ellington like he was trying to hit them. So yeah, he was trying to swerve around. The expert testimony at trial also tended to show that the impact with the Subaru caused the Blazer to rotate somewhat in a counterclockwise direction. And apparently that was like a really big point of contention in the trial. So that the Blazer was pointing across the road where the Honda was in the westbound lane instead of pointing towards its initial path. After making contact with the Subaru, the Blazer continued past the Subaru and impacted the left corner of the Honda. So after the impact, the Blazer rode up onto the Honda. Like, his tire literally went onto the car, on top of it. And the Blazer pushed the Honda across the road and into the shoulder of the opposite side. Mr. Larson then grabs his .44 Magnum revolver from under his seat and gets out of the passenger side of the car and runs towards the Blazer right around the time it was backing up and disengaging from the Honda. At the same time, Mrs. Larson gets out of the Subaru and runs toward the Honda that her girls are in. Miss Larson approaches the passenger side of the Blazer around the same, or Mr. Larson approached the passenger side of the Blazer around the same time that Mr. Ellington put the Blazer into drive. Mr. Larson initially leveled his gun at Mr. Ellington from right outside the Blazer passenger window, and then because he did not want to hit his daughters, fired a shot that traveled through the front quarter passenger side panel of the Blazer, allegedly attempting to hit the motor. Mrs. Larson was running across the road in front of the Blazer, Mr. Ellington, who's trying to drive away as her husband is trying to shoot him. Attempting to get her daughters, and as Mr. Ellington punched the gas, she put her hands up, started to move back toward the middle of the road. Mrs. Larson was struck by Mr. Ellington, which caused her body to come down on the hood of the Blazer before falling onto the road. Once she fell to the road, the tires of the Blazer ran over her head and torso, causing catastrophic injuries that resulted in her death.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Mr. Ellington left the scene, went back to the Cunningham residence where he had been earlier in the day, and eventually was arrested after the officer spotted his car. He was charged with 2 counts of aggravated battery for hitting the Honda and 1 count of second-degree murder for Mrs. Larson's death. At his first preliminary hearing, the magistrate found that there was not sufficient evidence to bind him over for second-degree murder or for the aggravated batteries at issue here. But then he was
so unfair.
But then he was charged with them anyway. Like,
that sounds so unfair.
Yeah, it is.
He was being shot at.
I know. They chased him all over the freaking place, going at extreme speeds, and then pull a gun on him, and he's only trying to get away the whole time.
Jeez.
Like, he literally went to a home and like went there. Like, okay, I've been in 2 road rage incidents, okay? One, I have no idea why this guy was mad at me. I was going the speed limit. It was at like 3 a.m. and I was a teenager with one of my friends in the passenger seat. And he was behind us, like driving erratically. And we're like, what is going on with this guy? And I'm just driving along, going the speed limit, which was 45. We get to a stoplight and he all of a sudden swerves around me to block me in the intersection and gets out of his car. And it was like a cop. And he literally gets out of the car with his gun and levels it at me with the top of his car, using the top of his car to aim. Like literally out of the car like this, pointing it at us. And I just booked it out of there. I floored it and got out of there. But that was terrifying. And then another incident I was in, I was behind a car on like a county or it was a highway. And this car in front of me was going super slow. And this guy was beeping. He wanted me to pass them so he could pass them is what I think was going on. And we get back to town, and at the first stoplight, him and his friend get out of their car and start trying to open my doors and hitting the car. And that's the one where I called 911. I was older at that point. I called 911. But never in my wildest dreams would I ever chase them. All I did was give a description of the car and the men. Why would I want to chase someone who was just like acting like that? I don't want to get hurt. So for the girls to chase him, and then their parents, the ones who are supposed to be logical with fully formed brains, the smart ones, the reasonable ones, to take part in continuing to chase him down and then pull a gun on him. He wasn't chasing you.
I know.
What's that? Why do you feel it necessary to pull a gun on him?
Yep. Who started the pursuit?
He wasn't ever pursuing them.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Who started the pursuit? Because in my opinion, that's who's to blame.
Exactly. He never once tried to go after them. He literally, the only time he did was when he banged on their window and yelled at them, which is bad.
Sure. You could charge him with whatever public, the public nuisance
Just
charge.
one
What's it called?
I don't know, but just one charge of battery would have been enough.
I mean, I don't know battery, but
he got battery for running his tire up on the car. And then manslaughter or something.
jeez,
He got second-degree murder.
that's insane. It's insane.
And then a cop lied on the stand. He was trying to avoid hitting anybody.
And this is in Idaho.
Yes. This is in Idaho.
I hope the Innocence Project comes to Idaho. I hope the Department of Justice for Human Rights and Advocacy comes to Idaho, because Idaho has some problems. Like, problems.
I mean, it says here, a serious question is present in this case as to whether Mr. Ellington was trying to escape a volatile situation or whether he intentionally brought harm to the girls or acted willfully in crashing into their car. I don't think he willingly crashed into anybody's car, like at any point. And
no, it sounds like the guy moved forward as he was trying to turn
exactly.
away. So
and
the guy hit him.
They kept blocking him in. They were trying to block him in. Like, what do you expect? You guys aren't officers.
I don't know how. This is what drives me crazy with Idaho. This is what drives me crazy.
It's absurd.
Yeah, it makes me worried that we are never going to know the truth about the Idaho 4 case. Never going to know the truth, because I see case after case after case like this. It is literally the prime example for what I was just talking about. Like, these things remind me of Baltimore PD. Identically to Baltimore PD. You know that officers in Baltimore, over 10 of them had lied on the stand. They got caught, so they were no longer allowed to make a statement in court. And now you have in this story, officers lying on the stand. That is a huge deal. So it's completely different to lie, but to break the law and lie in court, massive deal. Huge. Nobody should ever lie under oath. When you're in court, you're under oath, and you are a public servant. You're an officer here, and you're under oath, and you're lying.
It's disgusting. So let's talk about what Fred Rice lied about. I mean, it sounds like it all has to do with the tire tracks, the acceleration, and also his reaction time. Like, there's some big argument in here about Ellington's reaction time. And Fred Rice apparently tries to say there's no such thing as a standard reaction time. That is not true at all. We have very good statistics on people's reaction times, and also how they're hindered by substances and all kinds of things.
Anger, trauma. Yeah.
So the defense presented its case in chief over the course of 3 days, and the state then presented its single rebuttal witness, Corporal Fred Rice, to rebut the testimony of the defense's accident reconstruction expert, Dr. William Skelton.
Oh my God. They took a police officer statement over an expert doctor's?
Yeah.
Oh.
The jury deliberated for about a day and a half before returning their verdict that Mr. Ellington was guilty of 2 counts of aggravated battery and 1 count of second-degree murder. Mr. Ellington was sentenced to 25 years with 12 years fixed for the second-degree murder conviction and 15 years with 7 years fixed for aggravated battery charge to be served concurrently.
Oh my God.
You know, he had a 4-year-old son and a wife, and the wife was just tore up about this. She's like, this is like a redneck railroad. She straight up said that. This is a redneck railroad.
Yeah,
that was her comment.
This is insane. This goes against human rights. This is human rights abuse.
Yeah.
This is not justice.
Yeah. So
this is ego.
It is
corruption.
It
and
is.
small town attitude. And
It is.
it's so depressing because we're supposed to be a good representation of the world here, right? We're the US and we're leaders in the world, but our view on human advocacy rights and what we accept for within the range of like standard human behavior is so flawed and messed up in some places that, you know, I don't know why the police sided with this family or guys, but to me, it's like white knight. Like, I just have my eyes set on you. You're the target because I say so.
Exactly. I agree with you. Absolutely.
Gets me so worked up.
So he lived in Athol, Idaho. Athol, Idaho is in Kootenai County, which makes sense why Ann Taylor was his public defender. The population was 709 in 2020. I think he drove to another city though, right? What was the other city I mentioned? I can't remember right now. Do you remember?
No.
Okay.
So
but these are tiny towns. Like they are tiny little towns. So I mean that matters in my opinion a lot because I mean just from my own experience I know that a small town is more likely to be corrupt because every small town I've lived in was corrupt with their police systems. And everybody knew each other and everyone was in bed with each other. So we just have one little thing more. This is a super long document and I'm going to post it in the investigations and cases tab in our Discord.
Yeah.
Because
explain what Ann did.
So this document doesn't mention Ann.
Okay. That doesn't mean
I only know that because when it mentions his attorneys, I think it's his new attorneys or something, or somebody else took the lead on his retrial. Because the only place I found Ann Taylor's name in anything was an article from the Spokesman Review from January 31st, 2012, where it talks about that he was reconvicted or something like that. And it says they tried to reach Ann Taylor. Oh no, this was his first conviction, my bad. And it says they tried to reach her for comment, but they couldn't get a hold of her.
Reconvict, so double jeopardy?
What? His trial was overturned and then they granted him a new trial.
Oh, okay.
Just like Murdaugh, pretty much.
And he was convicted again?
Yes, he was reconvicted. Dude? And he had already served, I think, 6 years. So this is
insane. The Innocence Project needs to get on this.
I agree with you. But I agree with you. But as far as this is what Ann Taylor argued, I think this is the main thing that got it overturned. Now, there are more things in here like prosecutorial misconduct, bias jury, all kinds of things. But this is, I think, the most important part. And this is about Fred Rice's statements. And I'm just going to read this part and then we can start wrapping it up. But Mr. Ellington argues that the district court abused its discretion in denying his motion for a new trial based on newly discovered evidence in the form of prior inconsistent testimony of the state's sole rebuttal witness, Corporal Fred Rice. At the trial, the state called reconstruction expert and Idaho State Police Corporal Fred Rice to the stand to rebut testimony offered by Dr. William Skelton Jr. regarding average perception and reaction times and using crash debris to locate a point of impact. Dr. Skelton testified as an accident reconstructionist expert for the defense and the state that there was an average perception reaction time of 1.5 seconds and that the crash debris from the accident could be used to locate where the vehicle was on the road. This average perception reaction time took into account that it takes 0.75 seconds to perceive the hazard and 0.75 seconds to react to the hazard. He concluded based on those facts in his reconstruction, both that Mr. Ellington did not have the time to react to avoid hitting either the Honda or Mrs. Larson, and that the debris field in the westbound lane indicated that Mr. Ellington was traveling in the correct eastbound lane of the travel where the Blazer and the Honda collided. During Corporal Rice's rebuttal testimony, he stated that Dr. Skelton's 1.5 second reaction time could not be used because there is no average perception reaction time in the world.
Okay, but what is his training? How do you know that?
I don't know. It claims that he is a reconstruction expert and a cop.
Dude, a defense attorney better have ripped him apart and been like, hey, can you share some of your most recent thesis and walk us through how your expert experience applies?
Right. I don't believe this trial was filmed because I can't find it anywhere. I tried to find video of it. So yeah, there's no average perception reaction time in the world. He also testified that a debris field is not reliable in placing a vehicle at the scene because debris can be moved, kicked around. Like I said, it sprays. And that the debris field was not going to tell me where the point of impact happened. That is so not true. After the trial, Mr. Ellington filed a motion for a new trial on the grounds that he discovered new evidence that Corporal Rice had testified inconsistently for the state in a vehicle pedestrian collision case in the District Court of Elmore County called State versus Cicone, I don't know, in January 2005. In that case, Dr. Corporal Rice testified that the location of the crash debris in the form of glass definitely coincides with where the impact point is.
That's super funny.
Mr. Ellington also submitted evidence that the training materials Corporal Rice teaches from, which he prepared himself, state that the average perception reaction time is 1.6 seconds.
Whoa.
Corporal Rice testified in the Cicone preliminary hearing that he had used a reaction time, which he clarified was only the time to react and did not include the time to perceive of 0.75 seconds, supporting the testimony of Dr. Skelton.
So shady, dude. Caught in a lie.
Straight up.
Better never be allowed to testify again in court, ever.
Dude,
never.
Dude, if you straight up lie in court and literally are lying to the point that you have a curriculum you teach from that you created, you wrote, and then go in court and say the opposite of the own curriculum that you created, I don't know if you should be a cop again.
No. I think if you get caught lying in court, you should get fired. I absolutely.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not being loose with that. I mean, if you get caught in a situation, this is a bold-faced lie. This is not
I made a mistake.
Subjective.
Right.
This is how I saw it, or this is how I remembered it. Like, this is a bold-faced lie. This is unquestionably, he knew what these details and facts were since he created a curriculum that was identical to it and chose not to share it because he understood how bad it could look for the case. So messed up. What is up, cops? Like, what is going on?
It's ridiculous.
And then you complain the true crime community is so bad. They mess up everything. No, you don't need help messing that up. You don't need help. You're doing just fine messing it up.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I feel like this just repeats the same things over and over about Rice. I mean,
it's a shame for officers that are good officers. I'm embarrassed for the officers that are good officers and feel like they need to have the backs of these dirty, disgusting, like, I'm embarrassed to call these officers human beings.
Yeah, but Ann Taylor discovered this, and she's the one who argued this, apparently. This talks about his uniform. So here's what it says about his expertise. Corporal Rice, a police officer with 25 years of experience who teaches accident reconstruction to other Idaho police officers and who has testified for the state on many other occasions regarding accident reconstruction, took the stand and attacked Dr. Skelton's testimony, derailing its credibility in the eyes of the jurors. He was also not merely expressing his opinion on the usefulness of debris fields and average perception reaction times in this case, as the state attempts to argue. He was emphatically stating that a debris field could not be used to locate a point of impact, and an average perception reaction time doesn't exist. That's so stupid.
It is.
He was okay, so yeah, he wasn't ignorant or uninformed. He was well aware and testified to them previously in the Sassone case. The record does not indicate whether Corporal Rice was wearing his uniform at trial. We know that he was presented to the jury as an Idaho State police officer, as well as training officer at the police academy regarding accident reconstruction. Under such circumstances, it's not unlikely the jury would place a great deal of reliance upon his testimony. Yeah, he has taught for many years and reconstructed hundreds, if not thousands, of accidents.
So shady.
He biased the jury.
Yep.
And I'm guessing this lawyer who's talking about this new trial and what happened in the last, he said he doesn't know. While the record does not indicate whether he was wearing the uniform or not, meaning Ellington must have had a new lawyer, a new public defender on this retrial.
Yeah.
And I don't know. So maybe it's not Ann Taylor's fault that the second one, like maybe she had to be off of the case for some reason.
Maybe.
Because her name is not listed in this anywhere. I can't find her name in this document. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it shows the public defender here. So we have Molly J. Husky, State Appellant Public Defender, Boise for appellant, Eric R. Lenton, argued, Han Lawrence G. Wasden, Attorney General, Boise for respondent.
Yeah, but she helped find this. She was an active
she
part
was
of
his public defender for the first case, for the first trial.
Right.
And she's the one who got it overturned, yes.
Yeah.
And
because what you're saying makes it sound like you're trying to prove that she wasn't a part of this. No, she was.
She was
an active part of this.
But I'm just curious why she's not mentioned in the second one. And that right there proves to me whoever's writing this up wasn't at the first trial because they don't know if he was wearing his uniform or not. And there's no video of it. There's no one that can look back at it.
Where's the importance in that? You're just curious.
Well, because I wonder why he didn't win the second trial. Why did he get reconvicted? And if Ann Taylor found this police corruption and got his case overturned in a new trial, I don't know how she didn't win the second trial. But it doesn't sound like she was a part of the second trial. It sounded like she was only a part of getting overturned.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
But the fact that she helped find this police corruption and bring it to light is the important thing. I'm not caught up with the subjective as much as the objective and trying to create a better America. You know, sometimes you can't rely on jury. Sometimes you can't. We've seen really weird situations, and I personally don't think this guy should be in prison. I don't think it feels very fair. However, I understand that the whole thing was initiated from him punching the window. So this is one of those times where, look, the world is holding you accountable in a very unfair way. And you shouldn't have reacted in this way, my dude. But unfortunately, this is the hand you're dealt.
It says his lawyer was John Adams in the second one.
But police lying is unacceptable. 100%, dude. You are supposed to be a pillar of the community with a solid and deep connection to the community and stand up for justice and truth and honesty and be the presentation and representation of what we expect our citizens to be. And that's disgusting.
Yeah, I think
he's a criminal.
I think this is super messed up, man. Super messed up. Like, I don't understand why it hasn't been picked up. I don't know where Jonathan Ellington is today. I'm really not sure. But I don't know why nobody picked up this case to try to get it overturned, like appealed. Like, I don't understand. It's hard to know where this case is today. I'll probably look more into that and see if I can find anything in court records and stuff. But I want to know what you guys think. Do you think this was deserved? Do you think it was overkill? I mean, Let us know what you think.
Yeah.